Hello, and welcome to the Weshtern Philosophy Podcast. Two friends with oceans of notions discussing the unseen forces in our lives through the lens of music, mystery, and crack. Today, Bart and Anthony tackle the topic of invocation.
Because I'm always kind of searching for what can I learn, and quite often that will be emotionally. I think that was just a big thing where I've a bit of baggage I need to sort out, and I'm like, okay, what can I do better? Where can I grow? And then I remember a couple of years ago, like having a time where I was like, it's not as if everything is paradise, but I just can't see right now what new thing I would need to learn. And it's not as if I'm perfect either, but it's like I just can't see it right now. So I kind of literally, in that kind of spiritual way, invoked new learning, which is interesting as well, because maybe the learning I needed to learn was that sometimes it's okay to just sit for a bit as well. But I asked for it, and Jesus, I got it.
Shall we?
We shall.
So I normally start this with good morning, Bart. But it's barely morning anymore. We are coming up to midday.
Yeah, usually we're done by this time, which is a bit daunting.
And now we're just starting. And we sat here and we were trying to think of a topic. And we kind of noodled around with a few. And it wasn't really grabbing us. So then Katie arrived back home. And we asked her for a topic. And she gave us a recursive topic. Because we invoked a topic. And she gave us the topic of invocation. Thank you, Katie.
Enjoy your protein shake.
Katie's a gym rat now.
Yeah. I was going to say fit girl, but I think gym rat is more cool. Like, see you later. Thanks, Katie. But I think the most important thing, let's get it out of the way first.
Yes. It is Blarney's birthday. Blarney? Happy birthday. You're very good. You're a very good clinic dog. You're a very good podcast dog. You're a very good dog. Very good friend.
And we love you.
We love you very much.
You're a cool dude and a dog. I like how he's tilting the head repeatedly as if to say, I'm actually not 100% sure what this energy is that the guys are projecting. It's like, am I not supposed to be quiet and chill while you're recording?
Well, I think the way I read that is he's like, they seem to be giving me a bit of extra adoration, but like, I always deserve adoration, so I don't know why today it should be special.
Yeah, he's chill again.
Yeah,
he's like, okay, they're not going to toss the ball right now.
So he's 12 years old on the 12th of June, so apparently that's an important birthday.
24 as well.
24, yeah. So, of 24, yeah, 12, 24. So, thank you for being an excellent podcast dog, Blarney. Somebody was saying that we should have a Blarn Carm on him as well. And I have been thinking, the problem is he moves around. Well,
the problem is also you're getting more and more techie
by the
minute.
The table is ridiculous. It's like the amount of cables now. I think I've lost the run of myself.
Like I'm looking at one of the cameras now. I don't know if that'll be the one we'll be using, but
we have a DSLR, we have a GoPro, we have a Zoom H4n. That's our backup. And then we have 2 or 3 USB mics and a headphone splitter and.
It's even giving you a headache just describing it.
How did all this? It just creeps up on you, you know. Actually, my Larry, listener and commenter, John Larry Tracy, made a little AI generated song about my technical podcast woes.
Oh, can you? Yeah, could you slot it in there?
I think we can share it. We're not fans of AI, but it has its purposes, and this is hilarious.
It's quite funny.
It's very good.
Quite good.
So thank you, Lar, and thank you, whatever dark force created the song.
Exactly. Thank you, Lar, for invoking the demons of AI.
Well, that's like
the machine elves.
Katie said invocation, and it's so fecking fascinating because for me, the first thing that comes up when you think about invocation is, right, you're asking for something. Why are you asking for it? Because you don't have the ability to do it for yourself, right? So if you could do it yourself, you wouldn't need to invoke. Like if we could have come up with a topic, we wouldn't have needed to ask Katie for it. So you're employing the skills of something outside yourself to give you what you want.
Yeah.
And like, first of all, when Katie said invocation, I thought of like all the dark wizards and pacts with, dark forces and stuff like that. And the thing is, I think any invocation is a funny mixture of control and the abandonment of control. Control in that I want the world to be a certain way. I want something and I think I deserve to get it. And then the relinquishing of control in that you harness a force outside of yourself to give that to you. So this is genies and wishes that are turned against you and manipulated. And I think that's fascinating.
100%. Like, it's not even that you can't do it yourself, though. I was thinking, because like in this case, I think we could have, but it's nearly like you're like, oh, just give me a hand. And in this case, literally someone, Katie, but quite often it'll be more ephemeral than Gym Rat Katie. Stinking up the place.
With their protein shakes.
Yeah, but it is... it's funny as well, though, because invocation, like, as a non-native speaker of English, I was a bit like, oh, what does it mean again? Yeah, the meaning I got was kind of like, altars and summoning genies. But I suppose it also means asking for something,
Yeah, and kind of asking the universe for
okay,
something.
so it is kind of that.
Yeah, because... Yeah, I'll say it. The way this came up was me and Katie were having a chat earlier this week, and Katie was talking about this kind of phenomenon that I think she's probably seeing on Instagram, which is probably a bit less present in our Instagram feeds, but it was of single women who want to be in a relationship, and they have this invocation where they're like, I am calling in my king, which, not being overly fond of royalty, I always find an interesting choice of language. But this idea that like, okay, I want a partner and they need to look like this and they need to be this way, they need to be this height, their hair has to be this color, their body has to be this shape, their income has to be this much, And I think the specificity of that is possibly counterproductive. Because when we were talking about it, I just immediately said, if you had gone back to me 5 years ago and asked me to describe my perfect partner for myself, I am not clever enough or imaginative enough or self-aware enough.
That was the one I was going to say, self-awareness,
to create something or someone that would be anywhere near as amazing as Katie, So
she's not in the room, dude.
Yeah,
you don't need to
but
suck
she
up.
will listen to this.
And she's already said, "Oh no, you've agreed to marry her."
Yeah,
never mind.
Yeah, but I think it's slightly. Is it arrogant? Is it misguided to think that you know best?
What word was that?
Arrogant or misguided?
Oh, arrogant. Oh,
yeah.
sorry. I thought. No, but I think the one of partner choice is quite a good one. Isn't it always quite often the way that if someone talks about having a type, then the type is usually not the one they marry.
Do you reckon? Yeah.
I've seen that with a lot of people. Like I would always be dating and attracted to like pasty faced redheads. I love that fiery energy, all that. Jeez, I couldn't be married to one now. Sorry, this is terrible for all the redheads out there. I clearly love you. But no, and all, stereotypes, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm talking on the podcast. Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Don't be, like, I'm now giving out to the part of myself that's integrated, that's already giving me negative feedback. Like, I'm pretending it's you guys, but it's actually
no,
me.
it's the ginger loving, your ginger loving subconscious.
Like, it was so, like, there was one time, there was some kind of, you would call it a gala in Dutch. I don't know, like a big like dance or something, like a bit like the Debs, but then in university.
Okay.
So it was like a big like party where everyone would get dressed up, and I had a girlfriend at the time who was a ginger, and was
shocked.
lovely, and she but she couldn't come. She was away or something. And then, but it was still like, for some reason, you really did need to get a date. So I was just like, oh, I'll ask one of my friends, my female friends from my studies of political science to do it. And then one friend of mine, he was just like, or we could just get you a ginger cat. Kind of like, so that's how well established the stereotype was. But then, like you said, the wonderful woman I chose to share my life with isn't that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she has recently dyed her hair red, so I'm wondering if I'm putting a bit of pressure on. But it is, okay, all nonsense aside, it's like, I think I've seen that quite a lot, where people will have a particular type and people know, oh, they love tall women, short women, men, whatever you want yourself. And then the person that actually they spend their lives with is a different person. And I think that just goes to show, probably it's self-awareness, I'd say. God, I feel like that was all really bad.
It's very honest. We all have types, Bart. Like we all do. I don't know if I'm brave enough to say mine, to be quite honest.
The fact that you're not brave enough to say it makes me feel like I've just made a huge mistake, and the smiling eyes that you have.
It's true though. Like anyone that says that they don't is like we all. And I don't want to get off topic here because
really?
I think it's.
Do you not?
No. It's very important. We stick to the notes, but it's not having a type. Having a type is fine. It's that calling in. It's that like I have to always have this.
Of course.
It's almost like you're saying the universe is like, hey, I've presented you with this wonderful person. What do you think about? And you're like, the hair is the wrong color. It's this aspect we're talking about. Like I know a guy who only dates blondes in their early 20s. So when you are a man in your early 20s...
So there's a tiny bit of a problem with that there's a timer on every relationship.
What's that fucking horrible line? I keep getting older, they stay the same age. But it's actually true, because he when he's in his early 20s, that's fine. Mid-20s, that's fine. Late 20s, you're starting to look at it. He's now in his mid-40s. And, there's... Like, he's obviously invoking something, consciously or unconsciously, and he's successfully invoking it. But, like... And look, no judgment. He might find a blonde 21-year-old and they make each other incredibly happy. But do you know that this kind of person where, like, every time they have a new partner, they're almost indistinguishable from...
Oh, yes. I have a friend who just ended... I'm going to... for my own safety, I'm going to keep this as non-specific as possible. But I have a friend of indeterminate gender who just broke up with their partner of 15 years, and I think it was the right call. The next person they got looks exactly the same. Like, I'm like, oh, wow. And I think the new partner has a personality that suits better.
Okay.
But, like, physically, I'm just like, yeah. Carbon copy, great.
Yeah.
No, how did you even manage it? Because it was quite a unique kind of look anyway.
Yeah.
But, this was all so superficial. Sorry about that. But
no,
but I do think, there is something really where there can be something, like, for instance, to make it a bit less superficial, like something I'm really drawn to is like people who are quite... I think in Ayurvedic kind of thinking, they call it like pitta, like kind of the fiery kind of person who's a lot of energy and like fast digestion and that kind of,
Right.
But if you live with that person every day, that can be a lot, it's nice. So I think with a partner as well, like, it's having someone who has the wonderful qualities that excite you, but also that you're able to live with day to day, and that works, So it's such a specific thing to have a good match with someone, and we are not aware enough, I think,
no,
to would ever be able to invoke that.
Mm-hmm. It's nice to know where to go when you do need to invoke something, though, because I think we all at times find ourselves brick-walled, and it's nice to know where to go for help. And I just thought it was so funny that, like, we literally said to Katie, do you have a topic? And she said invocation, and it's so spot on.
Can we ask you for something yes, you should talk about asking someone
Yeah.
for something. But she actually did it very eloquently. It wasn't just like a turning of the tables.
Oh, for sure.
I remember when I was young, always really, what those morality tales, like the fairy tales and stuff, that you keep looking at the laptop. Is my level
You
horrible?
could turn your gain up a tiny bit, please, Bart.
Meow, meow, meow.
Yep.
Yeah. But the morality tales, they're supposed to teach you something, where it's like, okay, we don't be too greedy, or all those grim fairy tales and stuff. Like, I think the one that always really stuck with me was the genie story of you get the 3 wishes and you're always gonna ask for the thing that's going to be absolutely horrible for you. And usually in those stories, it's kind of like they ask for, what do they ask? Eternal life and money.
Yeah.
And then the third one is to undo all the damage that the first 2 have done. And I think that always really stuck with me. So I've always had kind of, when I was young, I had quite a lot of OCD, just like counting and turning on and off lights, kind of to control some aspect of fear in my life, I suppose. And there was just a lot of magical thinking, which is funny because now I'm trying to do less magical thinking, but some of my reality has become quite magical as well. So that's kind of funny. But I remember kind of always wishing that I would be happy. I would always think like being happy, and not like happy as in the moment, but like in long term. So in Dutch you would say gelukkig. But like it, it means like it is a bit more than happy. It's a bit more like it has meaning as well, you know. And
fulfilled.
Yeah, kind of fulfilled was the other word that was in my head there. You're picking up on the non-verbal cues beautifully. But I remember quite often, and I think I've still had this thought kind of at the background of my mind, kind of going, oh, was that invoking the wrong thing? Am I going to be kind of a King Midas kind of figure who actually at some point goes, fuck, wished for the wrong thing?
Yeah.
You know,
isn't it amazing how ubiquitous that tale is?
Yeah.
Somebody who gets everything they want.
Yeah.
And it doesn't fix anything, and in fact it makes things worse.
100%. And I think so far my life has been getting increasingly more fulfilling and meaningful, but it's quite hard. But that makes me think, okay, it's not hard compared to some people's life. Yeah. I just mean like it's being happy and having a meaningful existence actually requires a great deal of resistance, kind of to make it so. Like if it was all smooth sailing all the time, it wouldn't be fulfilling. But in a funny way, that kind of makes me think that I invoked the right thing. But then there's a funny thing with invocation as well, that in a lot of those stories, humility plays a big part as well. So me thinking that I may have invoked the right thing, and me saying it just now makes me very nervous as well.
Yeah.
So let's all go down the rabbit hole of my fucking thinking.
But we all do it, and I just think it's amazing that is like an story. That story is everywhere. Everyone has it. Like even in Irish tales, I'm just thinking of the salmon of knowledge, where this old man is obsessed with finding the salmon, and then Fionn, blisters his thumb and gets the salmon of knowledge first. And and we live in a world in the West, I think, where invocation is practiced constantly. It's about, you need to create the life you want. You need to, get out there, make a job for yourself, visualize. And by the way, there's no judgment here. There's a room for all of this. But right now we're talking about, these interesting aspects of invocation. And if you look at the mythic background for it, it rarely goes well. And now I'm looking at things like, we mentioned AI, where we are literally invoking forces we can't control. And again, I'm not casting judgment on that either, but I do think it's interesting.
A bit, but it's fine.
I don't like it.
Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, but I also don't think it can be stopped, but I think it's more the intention behind it. And to me, that goes back to the humility, the idea that I know best. I look at people like Elon Musk, who wants to colonize Mars. Like, it's not going to solve anything. Like, we have everything we need right here. If we can't sort Earth out, Mars is fucked. Like that's not a solution for anything, you know. But
it really shows very little faith in the human race as well, I think.
Yeah, but it's also like, I have the vision and I'm going to make this happen, and I'm going to call in whatever forces I need, whatever, you know, amount of money and manpower and technology, and, you know, I will do this. I will let the genie out of the bottle, and I'm going to be the first one it works out really well for.
Funny though that he does have like reservations about things like AI.
Oh, that's true. Actually, Musk is anti-AI, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's been talking about getting legislation passed to kind of slow it down. And then I think he went, no, it's not going to work. So we need to integrate with it. We need to join the Borg.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a different. Yeah, but it's so funny that it has. I think we all like have a sense of that it's quite powerful, Invocation, and that we need to be a little careful with it as well. I remember talking to a really wise dude I know, kind of shamany type fella, who he was already reared in like quite a spiritual household, and then he broke his neck 3 times, and the last time he had to be in a cast where he couldn't move his head for a year.
Wow.
And he said, geez, that's when God finds you, or you go mad. Or both. Yeah. But I mean, that's just, you have to, like, the circumstance is so arduous that it's like, okay, something has to give, you know. But yeah, I was actually listening to a podcast that he did, and someone was kind of really, you know, really respecting him and being like, you're so great. And then said, like, so you know, quite often people will come with this kind of question of like, oh, you kind of have it figured out, you know, which is obviously hardly ever the case, because even if people are well on their way on that path, it's just different goals, different obstacles. Yeah. And he was like, geez, be careful there. Like, I'm never going to say that I've got a handle on things, because then life would just deal from the bottom of the deck, or open a drawer that's not been opened yet.
Oh, you think you're on top of shit?
There you go. Yeah. And I think that's the thing, that when I say, oh, I've invoked happiness, and I think it might have been a good goal, even that, I think, like, it was me with my child mind kind of going, oh, riches don't work, endless life don't work, but being happy is kind of a good, like, that is quite a fundamental thing we look for. But now I think I'm kind of more leaning towards, no, even that was too limited. It's more about, what is it about living a life, like letting yourself be led by the flow of the river that is your life, or something. And then
that's beautifully
probably
phrased.
Even that is too limited. But sure.
It reminds me of the story of Siddhartha Buddha, who was born in a compound, never saw age, never saw illness, never saw old age, and then he escaped, and he saw all the pain in the world, so he became an ascetic, and he went into the woods, and he fasted and prayed and starved himself, and that didn't bring fulfillment. And then he went and he drank and ate food and lived a very hedonistic life for a while. This is more the Hermann Hesse, but and then he found the middle pillar path. So I think even like invoking happiness, like there's a flip side to every coin. Like sometimes you need to go through some shit to find the deeper happiness, and just wanting to be superficially happy the whole time it's not the goal either, is it? No. It's kind of, it's nice if you can be kind of content with what is. I suppose that is definitely a good goal. But it's true, like, because I remember, because I'm always kind of searching for what can I learn. And quite often that will be emotionally. I think that was just a big thing where I've a bit of baggage I need to sort out. And I'm like, okay, what can I do better? Where can I grow? And then I remember a couple of years ago, like, having a time where I was like, it's not as if everything is paradise, but I just can't see right now what new thing I would need to learn. And it's not as if I'm perfect either, but it's like I just can't see it right now. So I kind of literally, in that kind of spiritual way, invoked new learning. Yeah. Which is interesting as well, because maybe the learning I needed to learn was that sometimes it's okay to just sit for a bit as well. But but I asked for it, and Jesus, I got it. And it broke my heart. You know, it's
and then, but then it does get better. Like your heart needs to be broken for the light to come in. That kind of, what's that Rumi kind of quote? You know, the cracks is where the light comes in. But those fairy tales are right.
Yeah.
Like, be careful what you wish for. Yeah.
Are you good at invoking things, Bart?
What do you mean with good? Do you mean like, am I effective at it, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I am too.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Because I think if I really, most of the time, if I put my mind to something, like, I'm able to make it happen in some form. And that's not always a good thing. You know, and actually what I'm trying to learn through my life is like to relinquish a bit of control. And this word that I love, discernment. Like, when do you force through? And when do you release?
100%. Me and Yvonne were talking about something, a tricky situation that we're dealing with someone, which isn't too, it's not super big or anything, so I don't mind saying it on the podcast, but it was like, I kind of said to her, like, I am always willing to do the thing. Actually, my problem is now not super actively, like, I'm not afraid to go to some very uncomfortable place, but I actually need to use my discernment for a bit and see what would actually, if I know what the right point is that I need to touch, or the right road that I need to walk, it will be very easy for me now to go into what I always do, or be like, right, this needs to be sorted out. Maybe it doesn't need to be sorted out.
Yeah, maybe it needs to fall apart.
Maybe it needs to fall apart on its own, or without, 100%. And so I think actually that's a bit of a shared baggage for us. I think the being very capable, but then realizing that definitely has its downsides, like everything does.
Yeah.
What were you thinking of when you were thinking, if it's not too personal, what were you thinking of when you were just saying, maybe I'm too good at invoking?
I don't want to sound ungrateful when I say this, but it is true. My old acupuncture practice, Chinese medicine practice in Tralee, County Kerry, I started that in 2017. And I was like, okay, this is what I want. I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew how many rooms I wanted to run. I knew what kind of conditions I wanted to treat, what kind of hours I wanted to work, how many patients per week. It was all there. Like, within, I was doing well. I was 80% there in 2 years. In 3 years, I was 100% there. It was everything, literally every box checked of how I wanted my clinic to be. Exactly the kind of life I wanted, exactly the hours of work and rest and time off I wanted. I was fucking miserable. And then COVID happened, and then I had to deal with the pride of this was still a thing I built, even if it was and it wasn't that I was miserable, but it was costing me an awful lot. And also, I think part of it was I set up a clinic that I would have enjoyed running if I was, 25, if I had that kind of energy and drive. But it was the wrong time in my life. I actually was moving into a phase of my life where I wanted different things, more sustainability, not to burn myself out working and then take a few weeks off. And I really don't want to sound ungrateful. I'm very, very blessed to have had that clinic and to met so many amazing people. And I still keep it running in a very different form now. I've let go of 95% of my clients. They're being handled by another excellent practitioner who, that was another invocation. When I realized I wanted to move to Clare and let go of the way that clinic had been run, I was like, I need somebody to take on my patients. And the right person presented themselves. Isabel Canave, to name her. She's a phenomenal acupuncturist. And I was so happy. And she came out of nowhere. She wasn't somebody I knew previously. She sent me an email and we met up, and it was wonderful. So that I think was quite a positive invocation. Yeah, it's a tough one, but like, I got everything I wanted from that clinic, and it was really, really, it wasn't what I needed. It's what I wanted. It wasn't what I needed, and it wasn't sustainable.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same as with the partner thing. We were just kind of flippantly talking about that. You don't really know.
No, you don't.
The positive side of it, though, is that I do think you need to go some direction on the map to figure out what you want. So the kind of us being able to at least create movement, shall we say, is helpful.
Yeah,
it's interesting as well that the gratitude thing, that is also like, this is not the gratitude podcast or episode, but it's funny that we all have some real tension with that gratitude thing, because I think everyone knows that gratitude is a good thing, but this kind of gratitude that you're just displaying there, I have this as well. Actually, I'll tell you what my thing was when you were talking there. I was listening, don't worry, but this is podcast mode, you know.
Yeah.
But my thing was, like, I remember doing the first kind of like proper pub gig in the Netherlands, and I'd kind of organized it, and heaps of people came. It was very hard. I hadn't sorted it out with the audio properly, and just the first hour I was just sweating like a pig and very nervous. And then later on I kind of got into it. But then this image came into my head where I was like, wouldn't it be the most wonderful thing and the most dreamlike, unattainable circumstance if you would be sitting in a pub and you would have the whole place singing along because everyone is connected to it. And then, sure, 3 years later, that happens quite regularly.
Yeah. Oh.
And it's actually, it's lovely, but I do realize then, that's not everything I was looking for. But even saying that, and now don't get me wrong, it actually isn't a negative thing. Like, it's when I love connection and I love music, or connection through music. So if I'm playing and everyone is tuned in, it's great buzz. But after having experienced it a few times, you're like, isn't that funny? And that's that quote that people put up on social media quite often, but I do think it's true. It's like, do realize that the life you have now is the one you asked for and wished for a couple of years ago, and in a lot of ways that is actually true.
100%.
So, but isn't it? I do think, and that's why I was thinking of this story when you said, I'm very grateful that I got that thing I asked for, and I'm grateful to all the people connected to it, and I don't want to offend anyone, but also I'm now looking for something else. But there's a real tension there, don't you think? As if that's another fairy story where we're like, oh, if you're ungrateful, you'll be fucked.
Yeah, and both can be true, you know.
What's both?
That it could have been the wrong thing for you, and it's still worth being grateful for.
Yeah. And I'm 100% grateful for mine.
Yeah.
But it's just a funny thing to realize then, oh, this is actually true, and you get used to things as well as people. We get used to things quite quickly. Like, don't get me wrong, like, if you come to see me play, I love that. I love it when everyone's in tune. But then it does make me realize, like, oh yeah, I couldn't do that every night of the week. Like, that's not the be all and end all for me. Actually, apparently there was something. And you also, I think part of it as well is that you tell yourself so many stories that aren't necessarily true. You know, like, there was always this thing when I was younger and I did theatre and I liked doing theatre. I still do, but like when I was younger, there would always be this thing, especially back in Holland, where people are like, oh, you love the attention, do you? And I just accepted that wholesale. I was like, oh, apparently I'm a whore for attention. Not really so. I actually have seen people who are like that joyously, beautifully, and they do the play, and then they love talking to everyone who's seen the play, and I actually go, I love doing the play, I love being connected to the other actors, I love the fact that people come to see it, but I'd rather stay in the dressing room afterwards. Yeah. Not because I love connecting with people, but the problem is you will then be standing in a group of 10 people. Whereas actually, if they could make a system where they come out one by one and I can have a personal chat with them, where we can just for 1 minute dwell on the performance and then I can talk to that person about themselves, then I'm much happier. So it's not just attention. Yeah. So I do think that's part of it as well, that we tell ourselves stories that are just not true.
But then the stories can be so powerful. I'm thinking of, I love to talk about boxers.
You do, but you haven't for a while, so work away.
Here we go. I'm thinking about Sugar Ray Leonard, like one of the greats. So first of all, Ray Leonard calls himself Sugar Ray after Sugar Ray Robinson, a great boxer of the previous generation. So already he is invoking another persona, you know? And Leonard used to say that in his dressing room before the fights, he would look in the mirror, and if he saw Sugar Ray, he knew he was going to win. But if he saw Ray Leonard, he said, it's not guaranteed, you know, I need to work for it. I need to be Sugar Ray. I need to invoke that. And I find that fascinating. Like, that's the other kind of invocation as well, when you invoke powers or forces. And I don't necessarily mean like Diablo here, you know, but like people do it. They do invoke things. I also think of Deontay Wilder, the Bronze Bomber. He's like, I want a body on my record. I want to kill somebody in the ring. He doesn't actually want that. He says it outside of interviews. He's like, oh, Deontay Wilder doesn't want that, but the Bronze Bomber does. The guy that goes into the ring does. And he's like, Wilder has a sick daughter, you know, who he, you know, like he's a lot of the reason he fights is to, you know, raise money for her. But he needs that. He needs to invoke this ruthlessness to be successful. And I think that's the kind of champion mindset. We talked about this a bit with Emily, where if you want to be the best at something, you need to be a little bit insane.
Yes. Watch the Neil Brennan special on Netflix, please. That talks about this. I've asked him to watch it 12 times. It's all about this. He will resonate with everything, and I just can't fucking get him to watch it.
The damn
but I love
special.
watch the damn thing. They're all a bit extra. But I saw a wonderful interview with Mike Tyson, who actually seems, when he's not in God of War mode, quite a sweet guy. You know, and quite insightful. But he just, and even when he was doing something with a combat fight, he's like, he had the gods of war calling him or something. It was like really melodramatic what he said, but it really was true. And then he went into that for a bit and became a maniac again. And then he's like, oh, geez, I need to give that a rest. But interesting that you could see he's constantly being lured back. And he's just like, no. And then suddenly he's like, yeah, okay, fuck it. Yeah. And, in a lighter version, I saw an interview with the lovely Irish comedian Tommy Tiernan, who said that before he goes on stage, he said something like, "Please, Lord Jesus, let me do my work."
Lovely.
I think that's really nice, and that's a thing that I've started doing more as well. Kind of like, I'm of service. Hopefully, I'm an instrument for something to come true. We've talked about channeling something instead of just expressing or. I remember you were talking about there were 3 options and channeling was the middle road. Yeah. Listen back to the expression.
I also need to listen back.
Episode. We both need to get back when we do our little season 1 break. We can go back and listen to everything. But there is some real value in that because it kind of takes your ego out of it a bit, and your ego can really get in the way of things. You need to.
I remember getting. We're going to peel back another layer of nerd. The Last Jedi, the Star Wars movie. I don't love the new movies, but
that was the best one of the bunch, I think.
I love Rian Johnson, that director, and it is one of my favorite Star Wars movies, which, God, that's a mixed bag. But anyway, at the end of it, spoilers, but Luke doesn't want to be a hero. And he wants to be a man who is flawed, but his persona as a hero is bigger than him. People keep invoking him. People keep going, we need Luke Skywalker. He's going to fix everything. At the end of the movie, he turns up at the last battle and sorts everything out. And it's so funny. He walks into the room, and I remember watching and going, oh, he got a haircut because his hair is tidier and it's browner. It's not grey anymore. And later on you find it's because he's not really there. He's he's projecting himself. And he gets to be a literal projection. He can't affect anything there. He just projects, but that's enough. Yeah,
it actually sorts it out. I remember the scene,
And then his body dies as a man, fulfilled. And it's just that lovely, I think it's just a very difficult thing. Do do you be what you are, small and flawed, or do you be what either other people see you as being bigger and perfect, or maybe what you're projecting, like Sugar Ray Leonard being an unbeatable creature? And that paradox where we are both flawed and flawless. You know, we are both like man and God in a way.
Yeah.
And that's where Invocation gets very interesting.
Yeah, and you can't, I think we all have to be very careful not to take it too seriously. There is kind of a running gag in my life that is shared. I'm only realizing this now as you are talking. There's kind of a running gag in my life that is shared between different groups in my life that don't know each other. So it's very interesting. Which is kind of, about the projection of me rather than the person of me.
Yeah.
Like I remember it started off with a friend of mine who would always say, sure, but you're Bart Laver. And it was kind of like, we would always laugh because it was no, of course, because you are, like, it sounds so arrogant, but it was kind of actually the opposite. It was kind of, and then in my family would go, oh yeah, the hero. Oh, the hero, and it was just kind of like, aren't you fucking great?
Yeah.
And I wasn't trying to be, but it was kind of apparently was something I was projecting where it's near, I don't know, but I don't know exactly what it was. If it was taking years, if I was actually taking myself too seriously, but it was kind of, I think, playing a person that is larger than life. And then I went to a wedding this weekend, a lovely friend, Susan Bram. Congratulations, guys. It was a wonderful wedding. And I was there at the back row, and she came walking in, beautiful white dress, and she saw me first, and afterwards she says, oh, there he was, fucking Gandalf. You know, and it's the same thing when Nada of the Morning Dew went, when were you born? I was like, Christmas Day. She's like, oh, fucking course. So there is kind of a running joke, and I don't actually know what it is, but I think it has something to do with what you just said, that sometimes I project a version that isn't me, but that, and people find that kind of funny. But I'm not sure, but I'm just realizing that from all different sides that story is being told.
Yeah, I get called a ninja an awful lot.
We have.
Yeah. And I did train in ninjutsu, but like not until I was like 30, and it was coming well before that. But, and I think what that is at least part of it is we're very affected by stories, Bart, me and you. We've talked about that before. Like I've just talked about.
And we will
again,
dear listener.
Wait for our full read through of the Lord of the Rings, but
70 hours.
Yeah, but is that how long it takes?
No, it will take much longer. But I'm
like
trying to lead them in gently.
Yeah.
They're like, 70 hours. That's okay.
That's like 2 work weeks. That's but. You connect with these characters and you adopt a little bit of them. And I think you could say, like, in tough times, you can invoke a little bit of these people. I remember when I was over in Taiwan, there's a great doctor at the university. And the way herbalists work in China is they sit behind a table like this. And they'll often be, in mainland China anyway, there'll often be like a row of chairs around 3 walls. With the patients waiting, so they'll just listen in. In Taiwan they're outside the room. But anyway, doctor's there, empty seat next to him. Patient comes in, sits down to one side. They do the pulse and the consultation. This doctor, and also if there's students there, students will sit around the doctor as well. So this doctor is a teaching doctor, and he would have the patient, he would have the students, and he would have one empty chair that nobody was allowed to sit in. Oh, I've told you this before.
No, but I love it. Please.
And we asked him about it one time, and he was like, come here. At the end of a very, very long day, who do you think is writing the prescriptions? Because it's not me. And I just love that. I love the humility of that. I love the acknowledgement that there's someone or something out there that can do the job better than you can, particularly when you're tired. And that is accessible. So for me, that's a very beautiful kind of invocation. That's a little bit like Sugar Ray as well, but in a different way, in like a really I'm very small kind of way. or I am of service kind of way might be
exactly.
better way,
And I think it makes just when you were saying it there, because I had heard the story before, and I think it's a beautiful story. I think it is kind of the way to bridge or to kind of get the thread the needle of the ego and the role you actually are meant to play. Like I think, like you and I think are both still looking for the exact role we're meant to play, but we're definitely playing a few that are affecting people. Like even now saying that, I'm like, arrogant.
Yeah.
But that's the thing we need to silence by going, yes, but I'm only a vessel for this. I think if you actually go like, no, I'm going to play this role fully and without being apologetic, all that apologetic shit, man. I'm tired of it because I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I moved to Ireland and one of my Dutch friends visited and he was like, oh, I see why you moved here. People apologize even more than you do. You know, it's so annoying, but it's like you're trying to actually play the role of this incarnation fully, but then on the other hand, your ego constantly goes, oh, don't be too big. You want to still be part of the herd and all that. But actually, if you're able to go, listen, it's not really me. It's not really me. It's not really Anthony. It's what Anthony is being used for.
Yeah.
I think that can be a freeing way to quiet the ego a little bit. Yeah.
And when we're doing stuff like this, I think of, I don't actually listen to too many podcasts, and I listen to even fewer now that we've started to do this, but one of the ones I follow a lot is The Emerald with Josh Schry, and like, you know, if I can adopt or invoke or take on a few of his positive attributes in his ability to transmit ancient learnings and make them pertinent and impactful in the modern day, I'm like, I'm not 1/100th of what he's doing, you know, but I can take on a little bit of that, and that can hopefully elevate me a bit. But I'm sure that when he's doing it, he's approaching it with the same humility. He's not saying I'm shit hot. He's invoking something bigger than himself as well. So you can get these like nesting Russian dolls of invocation. I remember when I was a teenager, my bass teacher lent me his bass for a gig. Yeah. And I remember afterwards people were coming, I was only like 16, but people were coming up to me going, that was amazing, you know? And the thing is, his bass guitar was actually the same as mine. It was Music Man Sterling. Mine was in the shop. Volume pot troubles plagued me my entire time with it. But anyway, so it's the same model and make of bass. But something about playing my teacher's instrument, like, just changed everything. It gave me a confidence or something, and I'd swear I could feel on the back of the neck where his fingers wanted to sit and move, not mine, you know? Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I also think that wood is a material that takes on a lot, and I actually went to one. We've mentioned Breed O'Donoghue before, lovely spiritual healer in County Clare, and I went to one of her workshops before about energy clearing, and she actually said to a lady who, like, she's very good at tuning in to what you're thinking or feeling. So she would, like, I was thinking about something, she'd be like, "Oh yeah, Bart, that thing, but a bit more like this," you know. And there was one lady who also played the fiddle, and she was like, "I think you might need to energy clear your fiddle. You've been doing so many gigs, and it's been taking on a lot of those gigs, but you don't want all of that, you know."
Yeah.
But yeah, the Invocation. Yeah, I remember playing John Spillan's guitar. Poor John Spillan. I really hope he never listens to this podcast because it's embarrassing how much
I've been tagging him in every post. Is that a problem?
Oh God, he's so embarrassed. I'd say. What are these lads fucking talking about me? But playing his guitar, like, I was like, yeah, this is cool. Yeah. And it feels 100% different. But sure, where so much of us is energy, like that whole pure material view, of course you need it for when you go into a hospital and a lot of things, but you need the airplane to fly. But for a lot of things, we're so much energy, and it makes such a difference.
Yeah.
So no, 100%.
Can we get into nominative determinism? Is it time?
Oh, I think this is a part of my master's in NUIG that I've actually blocked out. I remember this term and I've actually just gone, so it's what the name determines the thing. Yeah,
that's it.
Okay, go on.
Because there's a lovely practice in China where if you can, there are ways to determine using Chinese medicine what the overall health of a newborn baby will be like. And let's say a baby is born and the Chinese medicine doctor looks at them and goes, they might have a bit of a weak digestion. Sometimes the parents will give the child a name where when it's written down will have multiple iterations of the symbol for earth.
Oh, that's cool.
In it. So the earth element controls digestion. So it's like we will strengthen that child's maybe slight, weakness. I don't like that word, but that little imbalance.
Yeah.
We will counter that a little bit through the name and fill it with a certain character.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so every time that name is written, there's a little intention, a little invocation of the earth element. And isn't that a beautiful thing to give to a child, as long as the intention is good,
That's beautiful. And what I love about it as well is that you could say it's kind of ephemeral or spiritual or something, or from the materialist view, you would say that, but it's highly practical.
Yeah.
And that's, I always think the best, spiritualists or whatever are actually super grounded people who just go, yeah, that'll work, that'll do. Don't have to think about it too much. Just do that.
Yeah, not so much faff.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's actually, when people say, oh, airy fairy, it's like you've been seeing the wrong ones, because it's actually not airy fairy at all. I never knew that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and of course we do it in English too. Go back to boxing. Tyson Fury is named after Mike Tyson, and he was a heavyweight champion,
Yeah, true. We're coming up to the European Championships of football, and I love me a bit of football. And actually, I'm for Ireland in most things, but for football, I still support the Netherlands. I would love to support both, but unfortunately, Ireland usually doesn't give me that opportunity. And
harsh, true.
Yeah,
harsh.
It's also they once got the Netherlands kicked out of a tournament, so there's
still
a bit
sore
of pain
about
there.
that, are you?
Yeah. Well, that was the thing that was also documented in U2's Slane Castle performance. So it keeps coming back.
Oh, they hurt you in multiple ways.
Oh, it hurt me in all the ways, because I have to keep watching that concert because I love it so much. But my favorite player on the Dutch team is Denzel Dumfries, and he's an amazing football player. He wasn't. He became a pro really late, when he was 19 or something, because he was just not really cutting it, but he just had such fucking drive, and now he's amazing, and he's I think so many assists and goals, but he was named after Denzel Washington,
right?
And if you don't know Denzel Dumfries, look him up. But just the head on him, he's actually a really, I think he's a really sweet guy, or he seems to be, or maybe that's what I want him to be. But just he always has the fuck off face, when there's interviews of him, he's actually.
Sorry, I've just Googled him.
Yeah, when there's interviews, well, show me what you found.
Well, see, there's a happy one there where he's in the yellow, but then
but
it's
usually it's that one where he's in the Inter Milan. It's just fuck.
He does look like he's on a movie poster.
Yeah. So something must have been invoked there, and just also that fucking drive,
Yeah.
He's an amazing football player. The first time I saw him, there was an interview, and these Dutch journalists, God, sometimes I'm like, God, lads, a bit of charm, a bit of there's this thing in Dutch telly, I don't know why, but every time people want emotion in telly, right? And then if there be an interview, there's quite a good few good interview shows, like Zomergast, the summer guests, is one that's a 3-hour long conversation with a guest. It's actually a really good show, and they do it only during the summer holidays usually. And but so often there will be emotion, and interviewers will go, I see you're getting a bit emotional. I'm like, Jesus Christ, could you not
be a human
do
being?
anything fucking better than that? But anyway, the first interview I saw with him, there was some kind of someone hit him in the balls or something. There was some kind of fucking accident on the pitch, and it was quite sore, and and he just and they went like, Jesus, we saw, fucking Dutch people with their lewdness, and so the interview was kind of like, oh geez, we saw you had a bit of an accident there, and he was just like, listen man, it's hard to miss. It was so funny, just deadpan, and I was like, yeah, that's my boy. Yeah,
unreal.
Yeah, sorry, I brought it down. A level.
That's brilliant.
But yeah, geez, thank God for Katie and the good topic.
Yeah, that's it.
Because there's so much more. Well, I've invoked you as a friend. We've talked about that before.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And but also, yeah, I've sometimes invoked things like physically, where I'm like, oh, I'd like to be a bit fitter or this or that.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, it will usually start with pain, because pain is the great teacher, isn't it? Like, so often we're like, that's grand. Like, even with like you quite often prepare herbs for our daughter Louise for eczema and stuff, and when she has eczema, we use them all the time, and then when she's grand, we usually just forget giving them. Like, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of how people are if they're busy anyway. So we just need pain as a reminder.
But you know what? It's really what I love about these topics is sometimes, like, I learn as I go, and I'm really realizing there's two types of. I think there's two types of invocation. There is like, I want this, like, The Secret.
Yeah.
I want to make 100,000 a year or something like that, and you just keep saying it until and that is the King Midas thing, where probably that's not going to go great for you. It'd probably work. Like, I do think The Secret is probably very effective.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's healthy, But then there's this other kind of invocation where you are relinquishing a bit of control. Like you said, send me learning or something like this. And I suppose maybe it's not black and white, but I can't give specifics yet. I hope I will soon. But like, I want to do something. There is a thing I really want to do, and I don't know how to do it. So I was like, I'd love a bit of direction here or something like that. Could you give me a bit of direction? And somebody literally called to my house and told me to do 3 very specific things. Have I done them? Have I fuck? I was like, have I fuck? And it was like, really, I really want X. I really want X. I think X is really important, and I really want to make X happen. And somebody comes into my house and is like, you should do X. To do X, you just need to do A, B, and C. And I'm like, no, not those. No, I don't want to. I don't want to do those.
You stupid arsehole. I love that because we're all that stupid arsehole. Sometimes we're just like, I want this thing. Here you go.
Yeah, but not like that. Yeah. Don't make me do that.
But it is that. Is that in the Bible, the kind of knock and the door will open? It really does. But it can be very uncomfortable. Yeah. And that's the problem. Like, we did, I've already, hoisted my spiritual underwear on the mast. My sister said that was very funny to her, so that's just for you, Anna. I was doing, it was actually the same workshop with Breed O'Donoghue, and we were doing something with angel cards, which actually to me, it's funny in it, talking about names, like that always sounded to me like angel cards. But it's actually, I find it quite nice. Kind of like you kind of sit down with an intention, ask a deck of cards something, and you will get some kind of feedback, which is a little wider as well. Yep. It's not like a pendulum thing of yes, no, that way or whatever, but it's more like, hey, something to think about. And quite often, like, even if you wouldn't believe in them, I think it's quite nice because it kind of gives you a bit of external stimulus that's quite, it's a little ephemeral or something, but it might... Like, there was one the other day where it just made me, like, really appreciate what I had or something. Yeah. Back to gratitude. But anyway, she was saying to us, like, don't just pick a card, but actually hold the deck, kind of see what comes up for you because you're tuning into different things, Yep. And then clearly in your head go, okay, what I'm going to do is in my case, I cut it and I take the bottom right from the top, But she was like, but before you do that, sit with it and see what comes. And... This was when I was, going through a rough time painful time. And I was just asking, like, is this going to take, it was actually a bit childish, but I was a bit like, will this take forever or is this soon going to get better? It did, thank God. Very quickly got a lot better. But I was just sitting there kind of seeing, and some thoughts were coming into my head. And then my daughter just rang. And I was like, oh, well, that's funny if you're asking for a little angel, you know. And I just answered the phone, and she just went like, Dad, I know you've been looking for your Bluetooth earbuds. I just wanted to say I found them for you, and so just so you know, that's okay, and I love you. And it was just like, you know. So I just came back.
Okay, universe, you didn't have to shout.
I got my little angel sign, and then actually the card was similar. Was like, it's going to be grand. It was actually a card of hope, which is lovely. Also, that's a thing that we could do an episode about that. But hope to me is the thing that would just make me cry all the time, because it's fun. It's like when people go, "Oh, have you seen this very sad film or whatever?" I'm like, no, the world is fucking sad. I am aware.
Yeah.
But when people are hopeful against the odds or something, bring on the tissues. I think it's one of the most beautiful human aspects.
I mean, you just sent me, was it a week or two ago, you just sent me like Theoden's speech from the Battle of Helm's Deep.
Yeah.
You know? Like...
Yeah.
Anyway.
Lord of the Rings just drove their car into our podcast.
Yeah.
And
well, we invoked it.
There it is. We invoked it.
I really enjoyed that. And what a lovely story about Lou and about Theoden, King of the Rohirrim.
King of the Death. Yeah. The Ride of the Rohirrim, lads. I can listen to that on audiobook all day.
And you can invoke it now later when you're driving into Ennis.
100. Oh, God. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Too many things happened there at once. I'd say thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Anthony has a podcast. Topics so true and inspiring. Every week a new one for broadcast, with his Dutch friend Bart, who sounds Irish. Anthony has some issues with his setup. His microphones don't work in the Zoom because they're USB and not XLR, and his old computer ran out of room. It's Weshtern Philosophy, it's what everyone's after. Entertainment deep dives, it's the cast with the most shy talk, gossip, and misplaced laughter. Blarney the dog and two hosts. Now Anthony started recording this video too, with his beloved Canon DSLR. But the bastard thing only shoots 30 minutes. It's over too soon. Needs to override and overheat it for me and you. So true and inspiring. Every week a new one for broadcast, with his Dutch friend Bart, who sounds Irish. Anthony has some issues with his setup. His microphones don't work in the Zoom because they're USB and not XLR, and his old computer ran out of room. It's philosophy is what everyone's after. Entertainment deep dives, it's the cast with the most. Shy talk, gossip, and misplaced laughter. Blarney the dog and two hosts. Blarney the dog and two hosts.